Welcome to We Talk Money. I'm your host, Robert Geniak, author of the international bestseller Rich is a State of Mind. And my guest today is Rebecca Martyn, a licensed insolvency trustee with Michalos here in Windsor. Rebecca, welcome to We Talk Money.
Thanks for having me.
So, what is a licensed insolvency trustee?
Well, you probably heard the term bankruptcy trustee. Up to about April 2017, we were called bankruptcy trustees. But the problem is most of what we do is in bankruptcy. So the government developed this term called licensed insolvency trustee and changed our name from bankruptcy trustee to licensed insolvency trustee to better reflect what we do. We are the only professionals licensed to administer the court and government approved programs such as bankruptcies and consumer proposals.
So I'm a consumer and my credit might be a mess. I've got bills piling up. I'm making the minimum payment on my credit cards and I'm worried about whether or not I can afford to buy groceries next week. Can you fix me?
Sure I can. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit down, we're going to talk about your debt, we're going to talk about your income, we're going to talk about your assets, we're going to talk about your expenses, and then we're going to formulate a plan to help you get out of debt.
And so with that plan being formulated, what exactly do you do?
So we sit down, review your whole situation, we talk about the options that are available, and then try to figure out the one that's best for you.
So we've heard about the term bankruptcy. And I think sometimes people use it as kind of a catch-all to, well, I can declare bankruptcy and then my financial problems are fixed. But that's not really what it means, is it?
No, and bankruptcy is not for everyone. What bankruptcy really means is the trustee, the licensed insolvency trustee, so I take your assets subject to a whole bunch of limitations, I sell them, give that money to your creditor, you have then obligations that you have to do, you have payments that you have to make, and anywhere between 9 months to 3 years or more, then you're out of your bankruptcy, you're out of your debts, subject to certain limitations.
So is it sort of like a financial reset, as it were?
It is. It's basically, the legislation says it's meant to give the honest but unfortunate debtor rehabilitation from their debt.
So I've been reset, and what happens now in terms of what I can do, what I can't do? Does it affect my credit rating, my ability to have a credit card, etc.?
Yes, so once your bankruptcy is done, it will have a negative effect on your credit rating, and then at that point you start looking at rebuilding your credit.
How long does that process take? Because I think sometimes people think that, well, I'll do the bankruptcy thing, and then it's all fixed, and then I'm good to go. But it's not just that period, right?
It's not just that period. So if we assume you're a 9-month bankruptcy, your bankruptcy process, the period that I'm monitoring you is 9 months. Okay. Then it's on your credit rating for 6 years after that. So the rebuilding period will take place after the 9 months.
And so it's not 9 months, I'm free and clear, I'm good to go and start running up a credit card or a line of credit again.
No, we definitely don't want you doing that.
Okay. Now you said something interesting to me. You said monitor.
Correct.
So is it I need to check in with you, or you're monitoring my finances and bank account? How does that monitoring work, Rebecca?
I am monitoring your income. The government sets guidelines on how much money you're allowed to make. So every month, yes, you are reporting to me, letting me know how much money you made, and then I can determine whether or not you're paying what the government says you're supposed to pay.
I think that's a great place to leave off our conversation for now, because I've got an excellent question I think I want to start with right after this short break.
A staggering 40% of all majorly injured patients in Windsor-Essex are impaired by alcohol or marijuana. When you go out, it is your responsibility to make plans for a sober ride home. Designate a sober driver, call a taxi, or use public transit. The choice is yours. Drive sober, get home safe. Or the next ride you get might not be taking you home.
Welcome back to We Talk Money. My guest today is Rebecca Martyn, a licensed insolvency trustee with Michalos in Windsor. Now, before the break, we were talking about different options with bankruptcy, and you mentioned that there's a difference between a 9-month and a 36-month bankruptcy. And how do you pick which one you choose, and why is there a difference?
There's essentially 2 components to it. One is your income. The government sets guidelines for the number of people in the family, how much money you're allowed to bring home. Essentially, the more money you make, the more your bankruptcy lasts. The second component is, have you filed bankruptcy before? Each progressive bankruptcy takes more time.
Okay.
So a single person, low income, likely a 9-month bankruptcy. If they're high income, 21-month bankruptcy. 24 months if you filed bankruptcy once before, 36 months if you're high income and filed bankruptcy once before. It does happen that some clients file 3 or more times, then you're looking at least 2 or 3 years in bankruptcy, and then a court hearing to determine what other factors you need to get out of your bankruptcy.
Okay. Now, one of the things I did in doing some research with you about the show is the concept of a consumer proposal. And I got a little bit confused. What's the difference between a consumer proposal and a bankruptcy?
2 big components. One is that in a bankruptcy, I mentioned before, that you could lose some of your assets.
Okay.
In a consumer proposal, you maintain total control of your assets. And you're basically making a deal with your creditors over time. So your income fluctuation doesn't matter. You basically offer them a settlement. So let me give you a couple examples. I'm totally making up the names. So Joe came to see me, $36,000 credit card debt,
Okay.
ran into difficulty when he lost his job. We helped to negotiate a consumer proposal between him and his creditors to settle that $36,000 for $18,000.
Okay. Now, when I do that, and I get it, if I'm a creditor to you, I'm getting less money than I'm actually owed. But are there assets that we can have that are kind of creditor proof as part of either a proposal or a bankruptcy?
Yes, so there are government regulations. And so essentially, clothing you can keep, furniture you can keep. You can have a car that you own as long as it's worth less than $6,600.
Okay.
Equity in your house as long as it's less than $10,000. So the difference between what it could sell for and what you owe, you can keep that. Most RSPs, except for contributions in the last year. Most life insurance. So really, there is a lot you get to keep.
So if you did own a home, they can't. Can they force you to sell your home?
No, they cannot.
They cannot force you to sell your home. Well, that's good. Now, how do I decide whether I want to do a proposal or a bankruptcy if I'm the person trying to make the decision? Or is that something you and I, in conversation, go through what is the best way for you as an individual?
That's exactly it. I help you with that. So I'll review the pros and cons of a bankruptcy, pros and cons of consumer proposal, and then I help you figure out what's the best method for you and your family.
My guess is if I were in this situation, I'm probably a little bit scared. I'm worried about the future. I don't know where I'm headed financially. How do we begin this conversation?
Well, when people come to see me, excuse me, they're stressed. Maybe they're getting phone calls, they're getting their wages garnished, they're not sleeping at night, phone calls ringing off the collection agency. So the first thing is pick up the phone and you call. We'll talk, we'll figure out, can we help? What can we do to help? And let's just arrange a time to get you debt free.
And I'm assuming that if I pick up the phone and give you that call, there's no obligation. You're willing to sit down and have a quick chat with me, sort out the details, and help alleviate the stress a little bit?
Exactly. No obligation, no charge. Information's free.
Rebecca, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. I hope you as a viewer have learned a little bit more about licensed insolvency trustees, bankruptcies, consumer proposal. And if you're in that situation, don't be afraid. Pick up the phone, ask for help. It's available for you. This has been another episode of We Talk Money. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time.